WWE stock gets buried. New Japan Pro Wrestling is in talks with Viceland for a US TV deal, and Nick Aldis challenges AEW to have some dream matches. It's all coming up next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti. For news, reviews, and conversations on all things pro wrestling, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. So the big news coming out Thursday night, Friday morning, if you're into finance, if you're into professional wrestling, is that WWE presidents George Barrios, Michelle Wilson will be leaving the company. And because of that, the stock took a huge plummet, going from about $62 a share to about $45 a share overnight, closing out with around $48 per share, costing Vince McMahon approximately $300 million in that one day. Thoughts?
Well, of course, it's obviously not good news. Now, if you're a fan, I highly doubt this is going to be anything that's going to deter you from watching any more or any less of WWE. Like, if you planned on watching the pay-per-views that are going to be coming up, if you planned on attending WrestleMania, if you planned on attending a house show, buying t-shirts, watching Raw, SmackDown, I doubt anybody's going to say, wow, the stock dropped, I'm going to stop watching altogether. So, you know, I think that while it's definitely not good from like a corporate or business standpoint, I think a lot of this is mostly fueled by a lot of speculation surrounding revenue, which I know Thursday coming up, we're going to have the end of the year call. So they're going to reveal all the finances. We'll get the Q4 numbers. We know it wasn't the best year for WWE in terms of the past 3 quarters. So a lot of speculation about that. There's speculation about the numbers as far as the network itself, subscriptions. A lot of people are assuming subscriptions are going to be down, but that's really all we know right now.
Right.
We know that the 2 co-presidents have been let go. There's not a plan currently in place to replace them.
And I think that's part of the reason why the stock dropped so much, because if you're someone that invests in stock with WWE, you want to know who's running the show.
Absolutely.
And with these two just abruptly leaving, whether it was Vince firing them or Barrios and Wilson just leaving on their own terms, we're getting, I'm reading conflicting things. One saying they're fired, one saying they resigned. So either way, there's definitely uncertainty on who is going to be running WWE. And the other thing too is, once Vince leaves, whenever that day comes, you would assume that Barrios and Wilson were going to be the ones that took over the company. Now, a lot of people are saying Vince and Stephanie. That's not
Triple
the case.
H.
Yes. Excuse me. Triple H and Stephanie. But that's not the case. It was going to be someone of a financial background that stock market people can invest in WWE and understand who they are, not someone that understands wrestling. So yes, Triple H might run the on-air product and Stephanie might run the branding aspect. They weren't going to run the company. So that's where I think a lot of this stock drop really was in, is just the uncertainty. Once we know who's going to be in place, maybe the stock actually goes higher than what it's supposed to be, because you listen to some of these financial analysts, they're like, the stock is actually undervalued.
Yeah.
So,
well, here's the thing, you know, and this is the thing that really kind of bugs me about when I'm listening to all of this. So you have the corporate side of all of this, right? The Wall Street side of this, where people, whether it's Fox News, Wall Street Journal, whatever, right? I was reading multiple sources, and those people certainly understand business, right? That you want to know that if you're investing in a company, that it's a sound investment. Now, if you abruptly get rid of 2 of the co-presidents of a company, obviously confidence is going to drop. This isn't any difference than if you compare like oil prices if the United States were to go to war with Iran or somebody else, right? Usually the prices in a stock will fluctuate based on what's going on in the world. It happened even last week with the coronavirus that's been going around.
Right.
So that's not uncommon. Now, I think that people are overanalyzing this just a bit right now. Because yes, while the Q4 numbers might not be great, they still have the Fox deal.
Yep.
They still have the Saudi money that's going to be coming in. Raw has been consistently getting better, in my opinion. They're coming off a really hot angle with the Royal Rumble, whether that's Drew McIntyre or Edge winning.
Yep.
It's not like they're going to sell any less tickets for WrestleMania going into next year, I wouldn't imagine.
Right.
And they're going into their peak season. WrestleMania is going to be their big season. On paper right now, what it looks like a halfway decent show. It looks like something fans can be invested in.
Right.
So while everybody's speculating what this is going to mean, that WWE is going out of business and all this stuff, everybody just needs to sit back, relax, and see what happens. I'm sure somebody's going to take over those positions. Who they are, nobody really knows. Now, obviously, it's not good news. None of this is good news for WWE.
No, it's not.
But I don't think it's necessarily something that WWE, like Vince McMahon, he's probably not freaking out about this. There's got to be some sort of plan in place.
Right. And let's not forget, 5-6 years ago, these shares were at like $14 a share, and they're still at $48 a share. So it's still pretty good if you look at it from that perspective. And if you understand the stock market, you can't panic over a one-day drop. We've seen that over, I don't know how many stocks there's been where things have just dropped abruptly, or like if you see the Dow Jones goes to record lows and then like 3 weeks later, we're talking about record highs.
Yep.
That's just how the stock market is.
Yeah.
So let's just see what the plan is for WWE. You know, you got this weekend where Vince has the XFL starting. Will he be focusing more on the XFL? Would he let the football people like Oliver Luck focus on that and he stays with WWE? Or is he going to be leaving, focusing more on the XFL and, let some people focus on WWE? And maybe the plans that Barrios and Wilson had, he didn't like, so he let them go.
Right.
So we don't know. Another thing that, you talk about the TV deals. That's going to definitely bring in revenue for the next few years with Fox, with USA, the Saudi money. That's obviously plus. So as long as that money's coming in, there's really nothing to panic about with WWE. So.
And I pointed this out multiple times on the show. Last year was WWE's best financial year revenue-wise.
Yes.
In order for them to top that, they would have to get another major deal like the Fox deal, like the Saudi deal. Where was that going to happen? And realistically, what did you think was going to happen with the numbers? Now, I'm not trying to downplay this and say that, revenue hasn't been down because of house shows being down, merchandise being down. They don't have that one big star that they can rely on like previous years, like Austin, Rock, Cena. So all of those things, yeah, WWE certainly isn't producing their best product that they've ever produced.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they're trying to start to turn a corner because it certainly seems like they are pushing younger talent.
Yep.
Aleister Black, different factions on Monday Night Raw.
Drew McIntyre,
guys coming up from NXT. So while I understand while it doesn't look good for WWE, and it's probably not going to look good for the Q4 numbers, I think that they still have a good solid base that they're going to be able to produce better content going forward if WWE, if Vince McMahon allows the people around him to create and produce that content.
Now, here's another thing that I think could affect the total numbers of revenue and whatever is the fact that AEW came in this year. You got people that, you probably renewed some contracts you weren't expecting to renew, gave some people a little extra money you weren't expecting to. That obviously affects the bottom line here.
Affects the budget for sure.
So I'm sure that plays into effect. So what does that mean this year when certain contracts come up? The Revival is one that people are talking about. They asked for their release yet again. Luke Harper got his release granted. Sin Cara, The Ascension.
Yep.
When was the last time we really had a big future endeavors cut? That could happen after WrestleMania where we used to see that all the time.
Right.
So, I mean, if the Revival don't end up re-signing, that's some money that they could save because the report is that they offered $700,000 a year for those guys. So, I mean, that could be something.
Right.
And, some people might say, Tony Khan's going to buy out WWE. And if that's the case, no, it's not happening.
Yeah, keep dreaming.
Yeah. But let's move things over to New Japan Pro Wrestling. We know that once Impact Wrestling was bought out, or when Anthem bought Access TV, New Japan Pro Wrestling was no longer available on Access TV. So we need a TV deal for New Japan. And it looks like there's preliminary talks for New Japan and Viceland to be working on a TV deal. This according to Dave Meltzer, but obviously preliminary talks. This could take a while. What do you think if New Japan lands on Viceland?
It'll be interesting because you you've never really seen a true wrestling show like that on a station like Viceland.
Right.
And now they've certainly produced good content. We talked about this earlier. So Dark Side of the Ring, The Wrestlers, those are some really good shows, some good documentaries. And I think that obviously that fan base who watches New Japan Pro Wrestling, I'm sure is interested in those types of shows that they produce.
Right.
They were really well done. So, you know what? If New Japan can get a TV deal, that's great for them. You know, we know that they want to expand. We know that they want to move westward. So, you know, good.
And the other thing too is, you know, Access TV is a very small network that only a few people can get, you know. I mean, I think to my knowledge, only AT&T and Frontier are the only companies that carry Access TV. And if there's any others, you know, let me know in the comments. But Viceland is a part of the A&E Networks cluster. So that's A&E, Lifetime, History, FYI. And not only that, Rogers Communication, who owns Bell Media and all that, you know, all those with Bell, Shaw, and Rogers, that's a huge thing because not only will they get Viceland in the U.S., that carries over into Canada too. So that's going to be huge for this whole Western expansion, the New Japan Pro Wrestling US thing that they're trying to do. And again, another night of wrestling that people can watch. So, absolutely. So let's move on to our last bit of news here, Ralph. And that is with another promotion, NWA. So their world's heavyweight champion, Nick Aldis, recently did an interview with Sports Illustrated. This coming off of the Hard Times pay-per-view, which was pretty good. If you guys haven't seen that yet, definitely check it out on Fight TV. Nick Aldis talking about AEW. And he said, you know what? The fans want these dream matches. So let's have them. He's challenging AEW and NWA to have these dream matches. When you look at the roster for NWA, they have Aldis. Marty Scurll is part of the whole NWA now. James Storm, Eli Drake, Aaron Stevens, formerly known as Damian Sandow, question mark. There's definitely matches that could be made here. But what do you think if NWA and AEW form some kind of super card?
For starters, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yep.
AEW right now is a very hot product. It's probably the second most successful wrestling promotion in the United States, obviously to WWE. NWA, while it has its following, it's not at that it's just not at that level. I think that obviously they have some talented guys, like you pointed out, that people would like to see certain matches with when you match them up against guys that are in AEW. But I don't think it's something that the fans are like, oh my God, we really want this. We want to see it. I'm assuming that if you were to poll people and ask them, you know, if AEW were to partnership with anybody, what promotion would you want to see the partnership outside of WWE? I'm willing to bet that a majority of people would say New Japan Pro Wrestling. So
I agree.
I think that if you are AEW, if you're going to partner with somebody, New Japan has the most to offer you and you have the most to offer New Japan. I think that AEW would be doing a favor to NWA to partner with them because they're not there. They're not at that level. And that's not a knock on them. I just don't think they're trying to get that to that level, at least not yet.
Maybe, but maybe not. I mean, they got the Crockett Cup coming in April where they're going to be doing that show outside of the GPP studios. So they are looking to expand outside of the studio. Obviously, Power might not get the same viewership as AEW Dark, but it's still getting some pretty decent numbers. And, you know, they got some talented guys on that roster that maybe AEW can expose to the masses, and that could help NWA. And again, you bring it up. The question is, how does it favor AEW?
Exactly. And I don't think it really, in my opinion, I don't think it does much for AEW. I think it does more for NWA.
I would agree in that aspect, but also, you know, these dream matches people bring up. And, you know, we say New Japan Pro Wrestling is probably the most likely to make those dream matches happen. But there's some guys in there that I wouldn't mind. You know, let's see a Kip Sabian versus Ricky Starks. Let's see a rematch of Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes. Yep. For the comedy wrestling fans out there, let's see question mark versus Orange Cassidy.
Oh, God.
Karate.
Throw Marco Stunt in there, too.
Hey, you know what? People like it, so why not? So let us know in the comments what matches you would like to see if NWA and AEW did do a partnership with a dream match card. Let us know what you think of the WWE stock dropping, and of course, if New Japan lands a TV deal with Viceland. Don't forget to share this all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. And for news, reviews, and conversations on all things pro wrestling, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. For Ralph Valenti, my name's Michael Valenti. Thank you for watching the Squared Circle Psychobabble.